The Chief Minister warned that in the last 7 days there's been a 10% increase in infections and that further measures needed to be taken. Although masks have already been required in enclosed spaces such as shops, they will now also be compulsory outdoors in Main Street and Irish Town, as well as Engineers Lane, Governors Street and Town Range.
So we haven't changed our position at all. We still take the view that countries that require mask use everywhere all of the time are not doing any better when it comes to reporting figures for infection of COVID-19. What is clear, and that's where we have made the change, that in areas where there is an accumulation of people, even if those people are not necessarily going to be within 2 meters of each other for more than 15 minutes, but if it's an area where people might talk to each other or maybe talking to other people as you pass them by, you could still get the infection. So what we have done is we have uprated from strong advice, because our advice was, let's face it, being ignored. 20% take up on Saturday, 13% take up on Monday. We have uprated that advice to a legal requirement only in those areas. We're still sticking with our view that general use of masks in every area is not something that we need to be seeing in Gibraltar unless the World Health Organization advice changes again in respect of the use of masks. We still take the same view that we took last week about those countries where mask use is now being required, but the results are not there in a positive sense.
Fabian Picardo said the Education Minister had been discussing the wearing of masks by pupils in secondary schools with the teaching unions. Another major piece of legislation will be a no loitering law between the hours of 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. from Thursday to Saturday in the area of Chatham Counterguard. Fabian Picardo also announced a random testing programme for frontier workers, as well as a testing system at the airport for travellers to the UK, adding without this test a short quarantine period might be required. The Chief Minister warned that measures are needed to preserve Gibraltar's air travel corridor with the UK. And he said the possibility that Spain could close its border with Gibraltar to non-workers could not be ruled out.
Although we continue to be in contact with the relevant authorities in Spain, if Andalucia closes its borders to other Spanish regions, it may also take the view that it wants to close its border with Gibraltar, other than for workers. And given the prevalence of the virus in Andalucia, we will need to understand whether that is something that we support or we argue against. Now, I do understand that in the context of Gibraltar, you have a lot of family members who are on different sides of the frontier. You have people who want to shop in Spain during the course of the weekend, especially in the run-up to Christmas. There are all sorts of human issues. But let's make no mistake about it. There are no more or less human issues between Gibraltar and Andalucia than there may be between Andalucia and the other neighbouring regions of Spain or the neighbouring towns in Portugal. We have to understand that these are extraordinary times. We mustn't pretend that we're being singled out for political whipping in some way if actions are taken which have a consequence on Gibraltar, because we're taking actions that have consequence on others too.
On elderly residential services, Fabian Picardo confirmed all 14 positive cases were on one floor at the John Mackintosh wing. The youngest patient is 64 years old and the oldest 101. 9 residents suffer from dementia. Another 7 residents are in isolation. 14 ERS staff members have tested positive, with 48 self-isolating. Residents at the John Mackintosh wing who tested negative have been moved out of the facility, and daycare activity at Bella Vista will be stopped as of tomorrow. Furthermore, the Chief Minister revealed that Nightingale Ward is now on standby to reopen at 24 hours' notice, and the GHA is looking at the recruitment of nurses if these are needed. The UK government, he added, had given a commitment to supply Gibraltar and its other overseas territories with the COVID-19 vaccine it will procure. The Chief Minister again urged everyone to work from home when possible, and he asked people not to trick or treat this Halloween or plan any Guy Fawkes parties.